This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your...
All right, we've concluded our closed session. We are now in open session. Trustee Day, if you will please convene the Committee on Collective Bargaining.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I would like to call the Committee on Collective Bargaining to order. First item on today's agenda is the approval of the minutes from the March 2017 meeting. Is there any objection to the approval of the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. There is one action item on today's discussion agenda seeking committee approval, and we will also hear from public comments before taking action. Item 1 is the adoption of initial proposals for a successor collective bargaining agreement with Bargaining Unit 3, the California Faculty Association. Vice Chancellor Melissa Bard will present the item. Melissa?
Thank you, Chair Day. The only action item this morning is the adoption of initial proposals for a successor collective bargaining agreement with Bargaining Unit 3, the California Faculty Association. The current collective bargaining agreement is not due to expire until June 30th, 2018, but the parties have previously agreed to a timeline that allows for early bargaining in the hopes that the parties can successfully negotiate a successor agreement prior to the expiration of the current agreement. CSU and CFA have exchanged initial proposals, and there should be no surprise that salary and benefits will be a large part of what is open for discussion. But in addition to these core issues, CSU and CFA have a list of other terms and conditions that will also need to be addressed during the negotiation process. In particular, CSU will be proposing to substantially revise the way that intellectual property rights are dealt with between the CSU and our individual faculty. And each time we sit down for full contract negotiations, the parties review core issues around faculty workload and assignments, temporary faculty appointments, and faculty evaluation procedures. We always welcome these opportunities to engage with the CFA and hope that the parties will be able to use the time between now and next June to try and craft an agreement that meets our respective needs and expectations. Staff recommends adoption of the initial proposals, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Bard. We will now hear public comment from those who have signed up to address the agenda item before the committee. Each speaker will have 1.5 minutes. I will read the first set of names. We have 16 speakers this morning. Pat Gant, Tessie Reese, Nancy Kubata, Carolyn Duckett, and Sergio Roldan. Feel free to come up in any order.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Day, trustees, campus presidents, staff, managers, and audience members. I'm Pat Gant, president of the California State University Employees Union, and we are currently in the middle of the collective bargaining process with the CSU. I'm here today to sort of say progress is slow, bargaining is tedious, and even today we have agreed to some future dates with a short contract extension till August 4th, and even those dates are now possibly being canceled. This is disheartening. What is even more disheartening is the fact is that the resistance of the administration of the CSU to accept the concept of a preamble as an introductory part of the contract to basically talk about what the parties agree to in principle and will work together. In that preamble, we had previous items of abusive conduct or bullying, health and safety in the workplace, things that we've talked to you at every trustee meeting for the last 3 or 4 years. These are not surprises. We look forward to a response and engaging. On the abusive conduct issue, I had hope about a year or two ago when the chancellor formed a work group on abusive conduct and campus climate to cover bullying. Our hope there was that we would come up with a system-wide abusive conduct policy or bullying, but unfortunately, that's progress is now stopped. The committee or work group has gone dark. Despite numerous inquiries by myself and others, there's no report back on the status, whether there's going to be a bullying policy system-wide or the campuses are left to their own devices. Possibly there is no progress because there's no interest in the CSU to address issues, or is this just another rich academic tradition of death by committee?
Good morning, Chancellor White, trustees and presidents and guests in the audience. I'm Tessie Reese. I'm the Unit 2 chair and I work at San Diego State. Today, since we now have 90 or a minute and a half to talk, I'm going to make my speech about the market equity that has been proposed during bargaining. The CSU wants to offer a 1% pool of money for the first year to cover less than 2,200 people to be affected by the market. Some will get a lot, some will get a little, and more than the rest will get nothing. You want to fix this problem on the backs of your 16,000 employees in the CSU who work day in, day out, working for you, the CSU. We deserve more than that, and we deserve better of that than you, from you all. I'm going to reach out to now the campus presidents because it starts on your campuses. You hire the employees. You bring us in at the salary ranges that are there. If there's a problem with market, you have the ability to fix it by bringing people in at the salaries that you renegotiate for. Instead, you're bringing people in at the minimum salary range, and there's your market problem right there. So I'm looking to you all to try to help fix this problem. It won't fix overnight. It didn't happen overnight. It's been about a 20-year process. So let's start fixing it now and not on the backs of the 16,000 people who do their job for you day in and day out. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Nancy Cabada, and I am the chapter president at Fresno State, Chapter 309. In March, we rolled out an IRP campaign on equity because we discovered that we had a serious inversion problem on our campus. And I put myself forth as the first person to apply. I have over 20 years experience on the campus. I discovered that 52 people had been hired behind me, and half of those people were being paid more than I was. One as recently was hired as 6 months ago. I was identified as being 17% below the highest paid in my classification. I filed for the IRP and was denied. I was told that I was part of a peer group, that their process that they had used for determining that I was equitably paid within my classification. Amazingly enough, when the proposals come across the table from the chancellor's office, I'm identified as being below equity. So how is it the campus has identified that I'm equitably paid and the chancellor's office has identified that I'm below market? Vice versa, the MPPs on our campus, over 88% of them have received equity or some sort of salary increase within the last year, which averages 16%. Yet the employees who followed me in this IRP campaign that were denied have worked for over 20 years and are getting paid less than our counterparts who are hired within the last 6 months. They didn't understand what equity was. So I want to tell you all, it's defined as fairness and impartiality to all those concerned based on the principles of fair-handed dealing. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Carolyn Duckett. I am the chair for Unit 7 and an employee of the Chancellor's Office for 22 years. As a Unit 7 representative and chief steward here at the CO, I've had the opportunity to represent many employees, and what I hear repeatedly are their concerns regarding salary and promotional opportunities. While we at the bargaining table for our new contract, what the CSU is proposing has only heightened concerns of our members because less than 14% of our 16,000 CSU EU employees will receive any sort of increase over the next 3 years. With that being said, only 2,200 employees will receive an increase. This was mentioned at the bargaining table. In fact, the remainder of us will actually receive a pay cut if the proposed parking fees increase are adopted. Chancellor White, this is disgraceful to the staff who are the engine of daily operations throughout the CSU campuses and have been an equal part in contributing to the CSU's success. Furthermore, many of our staff are also students, and they will see their term fees raised, which will further cut into their salaries. And lastly, it is demoralizing to us that management positions have ballooned and healthy raises that have been received in recent years to them. And again, we see no sign of let-up moving forward. Chancellor White, we are asking you for a fair contract that will benefit us all and not take from your longevity and dedicated employees. Thank you.
Good morning, Board of Trustees. My name is Sergio Roldan, Vice Chair of Unit 5, and I've proudly served the San Bernardino campus for 25 years. With current contract negotiations ongoing, I would like to keep in mind that how far current economy has separated from middle-class salaries. When I started 25 years ago on a custodian salary, 3 years into my employment, I was able to purchase a modest home, 4 bedrooms within a half mile from the university. Now in present time, a custodian would be extremely lucky to rent a 1-bedroom apartment in a decent part of town. Thank you.
Thank you. Next group of speakers, Neil Jacklin, Loretta Savitsi, Mike Chavez, Pam Robertson, and Rich McGee.
Good morning, Chancellor White, Board of Trustees, Presidents, and guests. Presidents and Chancellor White, I am here to inform you of numerous inequities currently on each of your campuses in regard to salaries, salary inversion, and besides those issues, there is also a major issue regarding market salary. Recently, the Chancellor's Office bargaining team pushed across a salary proposal to CSUEU that was totally offensive. In so doing, they provided justification for their proposal, as well as outlining where our membership lies in regards to the market rate for jobs in their classification. Over 10,000 of our 16,000 employees are being paid less than the going market rate for their work. This is shameful and should be corrected. On many of the campuses, the employees have submitted numerous IRPs requesting raises for equity purposes. In many cases, such as Monterey, the responses were denied. You're being paid appropriately. The market data passed across from the Chancellor's Office indicates otherwise. In the case in which we found that an employee who was paid appropriately was 36% below the market rate for her work. On that campus alone, we have at least 24 others in the same situation. Each president in this room has a stack of requests for bonuses that were based off of the market salary given to us. Some of your stacks of paper are short, such as Maritime, Channel Islands, Bakersfield. Others are very, very large, such as San Francisco, Long Beach, and Northridge. You now have information that indicates just how great the disparities are, and we have shared the same information with all of our members so they know it too. You as presidents have the ability to start addressing these issues on your campus. We want to work with you and make this a good place to work again. Please don't insult us by pretending that we are being paid appropriately when we are not. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Michael Chavez, CSUEU statewide chair representing Unit 5, and I am a dedicated 18-year employee of Stanislaus State. I'm here to talk about an issue that I believe to be as offensive and a detriment to the full contract negotiation process that has been going on. I'm talking about the lack of respect coming from the CSU's negotiating team. I'm talking about the CSU's preamble dealing with civility, how we treat each other. Whereas the CSU's first response is outright rejection with no explanation. Now the CSU says it's a grievance breeder. Really? Having basic civility and respect for each other is a grievance breeder? Come on, folks. Another issue of lack of respect is not addressing what our CSU EU members have been saying forever. Movement through the ranges. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not breaking news. Folks, CSU and the EU and CSU has had an LMC dealing with compensation and even came up with a report back in 2010. A total lack of respect for our CSU's represented staff. Your CSU negotiating team had proposed an Article 20 salary addressing market equity, whereas a little over 2,000 out of 16,000 represented members would get a raise. 14,000 represented will not see anything in the first year. None of our Unit 5 would see anything the first year. I mean none. According to the CSU's chief negotiator, he says Unit 5 are adequately compensated. I see things a little differently. We have a little over 2,000 represented staff that don't even make a living wage of over at $15 an hour. The CSU's proposal will give all represented staff a little over 1% over the 3-year proposal, with increases of $3 increases over the 3 years each year. The market equity is a responsibility that CSU has no culpability in. I believe the different campuses have created this issue by bringing these employees below market. Each campus has the capability to deal with this issue. Some campuses have dealt with these issues with success, while others have not. Folks, the tools are there in the contract to whittle away at the market equity issue. Don't let the CSU negotiating team get the IRP process. It's been working. That is one of the tools that is available in dealing with this issue. I believe the market equity problem should not be in the backs of all our represented members. I believe each campus should be addressing these issues and not taking it out of the comp pool to address the campus inability to address these issues.
If you could summarize,
this is
please.
This is what I'm talking about, a lack of respect. For over a decade, we've been saying movement through the ranges. And this is what we've come down to. You guys aren't listening. Come on now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Pam Robertson, Vice Chair of Unit 2 from Sacramento State. The in-range progression program started with very little participation. For a few, it worked well. But for many of us, they either were discouraged or they didn't apply at all. Many managers didn't understand the process, so we improved the language. We mutually agreed on new language, and we encouraged employees and managers to participate. And as the presidents, departments, and managers came on board and embraced the system, we were encouraged. With the utilization at an all-time high, you're saying it's too much work. Well, to me, that sounds like progress. Yes, there's a lot of things that need to be changed, but you gutted the IRP language by removing all but 2 of the criteria that would help us achieve the IRPs in the first place. And yes, it needs improving, but we deserve a meaningful, productive discussion on how to make it right. This is a mutually agreed memorandum of understanding. And my goal, our goal, is ratification. What is yours?
Rich McGee, Chair, Unit 9. In the last contract proposal from the CSU, after 5 months of bargaining, they proposed something that we had years ago, and it failed then. It's going to fail again. They're proposing a meritorious service pay raise. If you're above satisfactory, you can get a pay raise, a bonus, if you will. But I don't know if your presidents are aware, many of your HR departments have written policies prohibiting employees from receiving above its satisfactory rating on their evaluations. Why offer us a carrot that's unachievable? This further destroys employee morale. We're all supposed to be on the same side, the side of the students. Thank you.
Next speaker, Loretta? Okay. Moving on, Rosa Jones, Ricardo Uch, Rocky Sanchez, Eric Cannon, Jennifer Egan, and Kevin Weir. In any order.
Good morning. I'm Rosa Jones, 27 years of service at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. For those of you who were here on the September 2015 BOT, you have heard a compensation report from the Committee on University and Faculty Personnel. The report provided you information to develop proposals and compensation plans. The following statements were made, and you have heard this before. The gap between CSU salaries and other relevant market means persists for several employee groups. Longer-serving employees are often further behind the market than recently hired employees. Employees at the larger campuses are often further behind market than those at smaller campuses. You hired Sibson Consulting to provide a set a framework to build appropriate infrastructure to support a comprehensive compensation program. Their conclusion? Most staff employee groups are below the market mean salary. Turnover is high in the clerical and admin support unit. These are statements you have heard before, and since 2015, this probably has doubled. We have repeated this at the table. Since this report, you have had 2 years to create an infrastructure to support a comprehensive compensation plan to start to resolve the broken compensation system. Are you aware that we were offered 1% increase for the first year, which will only cover 2198 employees out of 24 campuses? Did you approve this? It is time that you reconsider and show staff the respect that we are owed and value us for the work that we do. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ricardo Uch, Vice Chair, Unit 9, CSU-AU. A few weeks ago, we were presented with the CSU proposal in Article 20, specifically general salary increases. GSIs have been a way to give modest raises to all employees. It is something that we bargained at the table. Your chief negotiator emphatically repeated, GSIs simply don't work. I disagree. The proposal from your chief negotiator addresses mainly market salary on the campuses having different market values depending on their respective regions. A few employees will receive market salary, and it was going to leave a lot of us in the cold. We hear you, Chancellor White. We hear you, campus presidents. Thank you for all that you do. We read the same in electronic correspondences. Thank you for all that you do. The reality is, thank you does not pay the rent, does not pay the mortgage, nor the groceries to feed our families. Chancellor White, Board of Trustees, campus presidents, show us your appreciation by funding Article 20 via GSIs, IRPs, bonuses, yes, MSAs by all means. We are more than an investment. We are proud employees. We work hard at our jobs. Thank us in a meaningful way by finding a compensation package for our CSU represented employees. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Rocky Sanchez, Vice President for Representation, and I hail from Cal Poly Pomona. Chancellor White, Board of Trustees, Presidents, and guests, you have heard from my colleagues, and I just want to state that the compensation problems that the CSU faces was created by all of you. Maybe the faces have changed, but the positions have not. You all created this problem, and now you expect us, the 16,000 employees, to fix what you broke. You talk about, and you said this, and I've heard this at various board meetings over the years, how you are proud of us, that how hard we work for you, how we make the campuses look beautiful, how we are able to assist the faculty and the students to move through their degree programs for the students, to get them out the door, so that this is a premier university system. The problem is that you don't respect us, that you think very little of us, so little and so disrespectful to us that you only want to pay only $2,200 out of the $16,000. You say it's a market. GSIs don't work. So you decide that this is how you're going to repay us. This is how you claim that you respect us, by disrespecting us, by belittling us, and trying to demoralize us so that we won't question you and the behavior. The thing is, as I've told you before, we will not be silent, and we are not silent over this. We demand your respect, and we are entitled to it. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we had 3 more speakers, Eric Cannon, Jennifer Egan, and Kevin Weir. Need your microphone on, please.
Chancellor White, trustees, presidents, brothers and sisters in union, we are all living in a heated political climate, and the tumult is increasingly being felt on our campuses in the CSU. My colleagues and I are trying to focus on teaching, research, and helping advance our students and university. Yet, many of us are finding ourselves under attack and subject to hateful discourse. In my case, it caused the university to try to dismiss me. But I'm fortunate that my union fought alongside me and successfully protected my career. I'm grateful for my CFA, and I'm looking forward to returning to the classroom this fall. I've been teaching at Cal State Fullerton for 20 years, and teaching my students, opening their minds, and helping them succeed is what I love doing most. It's why I teach in the CSU. It's why my colleagues teach in the CSU. But now more than ever, we are teaching in a time of fear. This must change. As leaders of our university system, you need to better protect faculty, students, and staff from attacks on academic freedom. Just as CFA defended me and will continue to protect my fellow educators, you need to protect your employees from these unfair assaults on our freedom to teach and our students' right to learn. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Egan, President of the California Faculty Association and Professor of Philosophy and Public Affairs at Cal State East Bay. My colleagues and I are proud to stand behind Dr. Eric Cannon today, and we want to thank you, Eric, for your bravery in coming here today and speaking publicly. It's no small matter. We live in a troubling new world where the truth is called fake, dissent is being criminalized, and the right is targeting colleges, universities, and university professors. Most of us on the faculty, we're pretty far from being like the fictional academic hero and anthropologist Indiana Jones. But faculty are people who often take risks to tell the truth that some people don't want to hear. We have faculty who take and defend unpopular positions on principle and with evidence. We have climate scientists who talk frankly about the effects of climate change, creative writers who imagine things that some people may find disturbing, artists who challenge our perception, social scientists who talk about new and different systems to create real justice in the world, librarians who protect our right to information, counselors who defend and protect the rights of students seeking help, and coaches who often serve as special mentors and protect their student athletes. From the AUP statement on academic freedom, it says, "The common good depends upon the free speech for truth and its free exposition. Academic freedom is essential to furthering that common good and applies to both teaching and research. Freedom in research is fundamental to the advancement of truth. Academic freedom in its teaching aspect is fundamental for the protection of the rights of the teacher in teaching and of the student to freedom in learning." I think all members of the CSU community perceive the CSU as protecting and fostering the common good. As such, you should be protecting your faculty who seek the truth on behalf of society at large and in order to protect the university itself. We are disappointed with the action of Cal State Fullerton's administration and their rush to terminate a faculty member without properly weighing the evidence. Rather than being concerned with bad publicity or potential donors, CSU managers should be concerned first and foremost with protecting their own employees from attacks and not making presumptions without evidence. We need you to wake up and realize that there are forces mobilizing not just against the faculty, but also against truth, learning, and the very principles of the university. Make no mistake, CFA will stridently defend our faculty who are under attack by such forces who have contempt for the university and contempt for free inquiry. Our successful defense of Dr. Kanan speaks to CFA's commitment to protecting all members of the campus community from the new wave of attacks on academic freedom and free speech. We expect and demand the CSU administration to honor the essential risk-taking that faculty do in seeking the truth and defend principles as being at the heart of the university and stand up for members of the CSU community. We hope we can count on the board to make the same commitment. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Weir, professor at CSU Sacramento and chair of bargaining for CFA. As you have heard, today we are exchanging sunshine proposals, and we hope to begin negotiations in August. As part of our agreement last April, both sides will bargain in good faith to provide this board with guidelines for a compensation package to include in your budget proposal to the Department of Finance as required by state law. In preparing our proposals, we consulted widely with our members, analyzed and reviewed the responses to a comprehensive bargaining survey that we undertook last fall, and we met with members on all 23 campuses throughout the 2016-17 academic year. Faculty continued to urge the CFA leadership to fight hard on 4 major areas of contract development: improve salaries and benefits, ensure fairness in faculty hiring and appointments, address workload issues, and improve quality of life on the job. CFA members across the state were clear that we need salary increases to keep faculty ahead of inflation and address low overall pay, salary inequities, and the ability to move upwards in range. It's almost like there's an echo in here. One issue that faculty on every campus identified as a problem is workload, including low tenure density and how this affects teaching assignments for lecturers and service assignments for tenure-line faculty. In bargaining, CFA's team will seek to clarify and improve the appointment process for both lecturer and tenure-line faculty, including addressing problems connected to tenure density that impact the quality of education and professional standards. The tenure density issue is also keenly felt amongst our counselor faculty who have seen a precipitous drop in tenure-line hiring, affecting their ability to serve the mental health and safety needs of our campuses. Consistent with CFA's recent and ongoing commitments, we will also seek to further address racism, gender-based discrimination, and other issues of social justice that impact the working conditions of all Unit 3 faculty. Recent social science research has shown strong and consistent patterns of bias in student evaluations. In order to promote fairness and equality, our contract should address these issues head on. The bargaining team will also seek to articulate faculty rights to academic freedom in the next contract. This is especially important in light of the heightened political climate that has presented threats to faculty as well as students and others in the CSU community, as evidenced by situations on the San Francisco, Stanislaus, and Chico campuses, and as you have heard here today, on our Fullerton campus. We fully expect good faith bargaining on the part of your representatives and anticipate that your team will agree to a timeline that allows for this body to comply with state law in providing the Department of Finance an accurate and complete budget proposal reflecting a fair and negotiated compensation package by your meeting in November. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that concludes all of the public testimony from people who signed up to speak. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to address the board. At this time, are there any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, the committee will now take action on the item before us. The adoption of the initial proposals for successor collective bargaining agreement with Bargaining Unit 3, the California Faculty Association, is an action item before the Committee on Collective Bargaining. Only committee members may vote at this time. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
And a second, and a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. The action is approved. Chair Eisen, that concludes the business of the Committee on Collective Bargaining.
Thank you, Trustee Day. We will now break for lunch, and we will be back here at 12:45.
This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio accordingly.